Hello and good afternoon. I wanted I just made a video for basically a lot of things, but but I prayed about that and if I should upload it, and that was the first time that I got a no. I should not. And the reason was that the video was basically for entertainment purposes, so just my social commentaries and some things, and my thoughts about Adolf Hitler and so on, and what the Bible means by the children of disobedience and many other things. And maybe I will upload it, but it's not the purpose of this channel to entertain. It's the purpose to tell the story as it happened, as good as possible as I can, and the things that happened to me, not my commentary on things, because that's basically not really important. What is important though is the things that really happened to me, and going over that to spread the word that this is not some fever dream, this is not imagination or wishful thinking or something like that. So basically I want to start with Luke chapter 9. And when he called his 12 disciples together, he gave them power and authority over all devils, and to cure diseases, and he sent them to preach the kingdom of God, and to heal the sick. And he said unto them, Take nothing for yourself, neither staves nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have 2 coats apiece. And whatsoever house you enter into, there abide, and thence depart. And whosoever will not receive you when you go out of that city, shake off the very dust from your feet for a testimony against them. And they departed and went through the towns, preaching the gospel and healing everywhere. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed, because that it was said of some that John was risen from the dead, and of some that Elias had appeared, and of others that one of the old prophets was risen again. And Herod said, John have I beheaded, but who is this of whom I hear such things? And he desired to see him. And the apostles, when they were returned, told him all that they had done, and he took them and went aside privately into a desert place belonging to the city called Bethsaida. And the people, when they knew it, followed him. And he received them, and spake unto them of the kingdom of God, and healed them that had need of healing. And when the day began to wear away, then came the 12, and said unto him, Send the multitude away, that they may go into the towns, and country round about and lodge, and get victuals, for we are here in a desert place. But he said unto them, Give ye them to eat. And they said, We have no more but 5 loaves, and 2 fishes, except we should go and buy meat for all these people. For they were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, Make them sit down by 50s in a company. And they did so, and made them all sit down. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven he blessed them, and brake, and gave to the disciples to set before the multitude. And they did eat, and were all filled, and there was taken up of fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. And it came to pass, as he was alone, praying, his disciples were with him, and he asked them, saying, Whom say the people that I am? They answered and said, John the Baptist. And some said, Elias. And the others said, that one of the old prophets is risen again. He said unto them, But whom say you that I am? Peter answered and said, The Christ of God. And he straitly charged them and commanded them to tell no man that thing, saying, The Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised on the 3rd day. And he said to them all, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world, and lose himself, or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory, and in his Father's, and of the holy angels. But I tell you of a truth, that there be some standing here now, which shall not taste of death, till they see the kingdom of God. So let us not be ashamed to talk about this. So I wanted to go through all the tactics that are used against me, just like Derek Prince said in the 1980s. So this is not really a secret, it's just not talked about. So Derek Prince said he was a deliverance minister. That's what he did all his life, most his life. Okay, so he said the demons have 2 objectives basically, and that is first, to keep you from knowing Christ, and secondly, if they fail with the first objective, they do everything in their power to keep you from really understanding it and serving him effectively. And I wanted to talk about the tactics of the first objective first. So basically when I was 23 or 25 or so, I never wanted anything to do with religion, and I didn't grow up in such a mindset. So this was completely alien to me. That did not make any sense in my worldview, that there is an invisible man living on a cloud who watches everything you do and so on. And but that's the level of like stupidity that many people think literally in that way that about Christianity. So so Satan's tactics he used to keep me from knowing Christ. First, I was introduced to a guru, and he amazed me, and because he was not like he was like very a modern man, basically, you know, but a guru, a long beard and so on, but he was like, he talked like a normal human being talks, no? So now I listen to the guru, and I began to understand that concept of moksha, which means enlightenment, and this immediately drove me to meditate and begin meditation. And I started with 15 minutes and I ended up with 1.5 hours of meditation per day, and I did that for at least 2 years. At least, I would say I did that for 3 years without fail. So there was maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days where I didn't have the time to do it or so, but I really rigidly did that. So then I had this moksha experience after a short time, where basically you can think of a better word, but you dissociate from your mind, because most people, which the Jews say, the Goyim, the Gentiles, the unenlightened ones, they think that they are their thoughts, which is not true, because when you have this moksha experience, you can observe your ego from without. There is no doubt about that. That's what happens. That's just obvious. You can't. If you see it yourself, then there must be two me's. There must be a soul and there must be the body. So now this, when I had this moksha thing, then I basically I saw that as a way out of all my problems, and that's why I meditated like an insane person, and I did yoga, and I got very much also into Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, non-duality and so on. When I after basically the guru made it sound like, and other gurus too, that the highest form of meditation and yoga is a Kundalini awakening, which opens all the chakras and all the nadis in your body and makes you basically enlightened. So now I had to do that, but there is no literature on how to do that, so I had to find it out myself, and I had the time, so I did find it out, and I successfully had like 2 or 3 Kundalini awakenings, full blown, I mean Kundalini awakenings, where you basically become one with everything, and there's no difference between me and the wall and the window and the chair that I'm sitting on. And when you experience that, that's very, very powerful, and it's a life-changing experience. So, but it didn't help me at all. it made things even worse. And I didn't know what's going on. I did everything the guru said. I even achieved a Kundalini awakening, which is supposedly the highest form of yoga. So then I was drawn to Judaism, and I learned a lot about Judaism, and I learned a lot about then through this thing I got into the Kabbalah, and from there on I realized that the real power is in the occult. So I got into the occult, and I was just seeking a way out of my misery, because I had no hope anymore for anything. So I did that for survival, basically. That's why I meditated 1.5 hours each day, because that was my ticket out. So so when I got into Kabbalism, and I learned that this is also the basis of most esoteric traditions like Freemasonry. I think the Argentum Astrum, the Golden Dawn. So it's very important to understand this concept. And approximately at that point in my life, I got an infection on my right arm, and my right arm swelled to the size of a balloon, and I did not go to the hospital for like 7 days or 6 days, I don't know. When I finally got to the hospital, I had the doctors looked at me like, are you serious? We have to immediately amputate your arm. So that's how bad it was. So my arm was swelled to the size of like my head, swollen with liquid, with that's how I was back then. And so when I was in the hospital, I stole a Bible, and I began to read it, and when I began to do that, for some time, like for a few weeks, not much happened, as long as I was in the hospital. But when I got home and I started to read it aloud at night, suddenly I got extremely realistic nightmares, and it got worse and worse, and I had a suspicion, but it was just a suspicion, that it has something to do with reading the Bible. So I even read more and louder, and my suspicion was basically true, because then it became even worse. So then I began to have sleep paralysis. where you can't move but you're awake, and you feel a presence in the room, but you can't turn on the light, you can't move. Sometimes doors would closed doors would open, nobody there, things like that. And this went on for 6 months. And at that point in time, I think I never even ever heard the word Derek Prince or the name Derek Prince. So the first thing that I listened to from Derek Prince was his lecture on spiritual warfare. And he laid it out very clearly that, for example, if we deal in our deliverance ministry, if we deal with someone who is addicted, we don't even take the trouble to basically search for another cause. We just deal with it like it's a demon, because it usually is, and I was never wrong in that. Basically, it was never wrong. So he opened my eyes like this. This also is a tattoo, which is also forbidden in the Bible, which I got very soon, shortly before all this happened, and it was like I had to get it now. And I think I called like 12 tattoo studios on a weekend to tattoo this demonic thing onto my body, which is expressly forbidden in the Bible. And it was like I was pulled by a force, and as far as I know, that's what the higher up witches call it, the force. So everything John taught said made suddenly a lot of sense, because I was very much into conspiracy stuff, but John taught was just a level where I thought that these guys may be crazy, imagining things or whatever, but so well then, this happened, and then when I began to read the Bible, I didn't really take it seriously at that time very much, but suddenly I found information which was which I would have dreamed about finding a few years earlier, like this guy, let's call him Tom Riddle, and this guy has lectures on black magic in the context of quantum physics. So basically he has a unified theory of all this stuff, which is very real also. So that's also what basically what Carl Gustav Jung wanted to do. Jung had a feud with Sigmund Freud because he wanted to incorporate paranormal phenomena into psychology, and Freud wanted to keep it a completely material science, a secular science, period. And that's why they had a huge falling out, and because Jung was convinced that it was very important to get to the bottom of these paranormal things, precognition, extrasensory perception. I think that's what they call it nowadays. So my hair. So anyway, so I was then introduced to I call him Tom Riddle. Then this guy, I think I watched like hundreds and hundreds of hours of lectures of this guy. And if you want to hear about something that he talked about, so this was really high level stuff, and this was really mesmerizing because this was really powerful. This was the Goetia or the Goetia, which is Solomonic magic, and how to do it, and how to do it very easily, not like they did it 100 years ago. And that was the maximum amount of seduction that was then put on me. And he talked about like how black magic is already integrated into quantum physics. He talked about the difference of heptatonic and pentatonic spirituality, which is so this guy is credible because first of all they wanted to kill him, so they blew up his flat. They tried to microwave him for years and so on. So he fled to Asia because he explained in one of his lectures that the earth energies, so which are used in Enochian magic, which is the magic of Enoch or Henosh. Enochian magic is a form of magic that concerns the earth energies. So, and he says that that the death squads that they have, they can get to him via magic as long as he stays in Asia, because the spiritual energies, which they call in Asia the dragon energy, or the dragon energies or the dragon energy lines, they are based on the heptatonic and not the pentatonic, and I'm not talking about musical scales. So, and then he talked a lot about archetypes, how to invoke archetypes. Like, you can invoke any archetype, you can even bind archetypes, how to store magic in objects, which according to the Bible King Solomon did. So this guy, I think that if, I said that already, but I think if Crowley would live, still be alive, he would pay to see this guy. And this was dropped into my lap, basically. And so there, that was the maximum amount of seduction that was put on me, and I was seduced to try these things, and I did a few things that I really regret, like I said. And but this guy, this is really heavy stuff. So he also talked about what the Holy Grail is, and the Holy Grail is not a cup like in Indiana Jones. The Holy Grail is basically an archetype of the soul, which may be even the soul of Jesus, I don't know. But there are books, complete books with just drawings that look like this. I didn't draw it very well, so basically what this should look like, it should look like this is the soul, and there are different archetypes of the soul which you can invoke, and through repeated invocation of these archetypes you manifest them into yourself or into other people, depending on what you're doing, and so on, especially if you do that with young children and so on, because they still have the neuroplasticity. As I said, magic is no longer some superstitious stuff, it's incorporated into physics, especially quantum physics. Like, for example, quantum entanglement is exactly like the second Hermetic principle, and Hermetics is thousands of years old, and it says that two objects, whatever they are, if they meet, and they are connected forever. And that's exactly what quantum entanglement means. And quantum entanglement proved that Einstein's theory of that there is nothing faster than the speed of light, which is like 300,000 meters per second, or something like that. So so quantum entanglement basically is magic. So quantum physics describes magical principles that are thousands of years old. So this stuff has already been incorporated a long time ago into physics and into even electronics. So you don't have to really I hope I'm wrong, but according to him you don't have to really draw a circle with 6 candles and call upon some entity to curse someone. You just push a button. Anyway, so the Holy Grail is called the ram's horn. It represents the love energy, and I don't mean that in a new age way. It's a negative spiral and a positive spiral, and basically the archetype of the Holy Grail. So the Holy Grail is a soul which has the entry point of the source above the head and an exit to the right or to the left side with the ram's horn, which is love energy, and no exit downwards, which would be most of us, because the energy dissipates after death down into hell. So that's the Holy Grail. So this level of and I'm not even going into any detail, that's the level of black magic that he taught, and he taught it in detail. And he began very easily with like what is a magic wand, why does it work, like basically that's what he says. Basically a magic wand comes from Druidic magic. The Druids worshipped trees. That's why Christmas is a pagan ritual. A Druid merged or astral projected himself into a chosen tree, When the soul then comes back to him, he would be quantum entangled with the tree, and his aura would be bigger, more powerful. In the astral realm, there's a door in the tree. Usually there are two doors, one that swings clockwise and one that swings anti-clockwise, which is also important. So also inside the temple, which is the body, if you astral project, you have to learn that there are doors, and you can go into a tree to enter into hell space, because a tree reaches into the nether realms. That's also in the Bible. When the Bible says everyone who dies hanging on a tree goes to hell, that's because a tree sucks you down into the nether realms, so to speak. Also fountains. So he continues, by the law of sympathetic magic, you can then use a twig of this tree as an extension of your energy field. That's what a magic wand is. So there's a lot of knowledge behind that, and most people have no idea that this is a science. This is like, if you don't have a mentor that teaches you this stuff, you could never succeed in it. Never. You can read as many books as you want, you will never succeed. It's impossible. Yeah, the last thing that I wanted to say, that what he also spoke about was the quantum physical explanation of what the physical world is. And he says there is he calls it C space, H space and R space. So there's real number space, which is the physical world, and there is C space, which is the complex numbers, which is the world of archetypes, imagination. Like, imagination is very powerful. That's why watching television is so bad, because it kills your imagination. So, and then there is H space, which is basically hell space. And most souls basically are like in the movie The Matrix, they are energy sources. And to produce the energy needed to manifest real number space, which is the physical world, you need the energy of many of souls, basically of all the people who die, to manifest it. And according to him, that has also been basically proven mathematically, that this would explain why there is so much more dark matter energy than usual energy in the universe. It's hard to talk about that, but I think I have a moral obligation to talk about it. So I want to end this video with Psalm 111. Praise ye the Lord. I will praise the Lord with my whole heart, in the assembly of the upright, and in the congregation. The works of the Lord are great, sought out of all them that have pleasure therein. His work is honorable and glorious, and his righteousness endures forever. He has made his wonderful works to be remembered. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion. He hath given meat unto them that fear him. He will ever be mindful of his covenant. He hath shewed his people the power of his works, that he may give them the heritage of the heathen. The works of his hands are verity and judgment. All his commandments are sure. They stand fast forever and ever, and are done in truth and uprightness. He sent redemption unto his people. He has commanded his covenant forever. Holy and reverent is his name. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever. Amen. Thank you for listening.